I've thought a lot about evil and sin and what we should do and shouldn't do. And I have come to the conclusion that apathy, indifference, lack of compassion is perhaps the cruelest form of hate. Um, Let me try and dramatically illustrate this. If you were walking through the city and there was a little child, filthy, alone, forlorn, and crying, if one were to say to oneself, "Oh, look at that poor, destitute child. I certainly hope someone comes and helps that child. I would do something, but I have an important meeting to go to, or I have my really good clothes on and can't get involved with such a filthy person, or I just don't have time to deal with it." Those are excuses, but they show no compassion, no love, and frankly, are showing real contempt for that little child. Apathy can be covered with all kinds of excuses, but when we are called to a situation, we have to respond. One more illustration. Um, I was driving on a road on Cape Cod. This was a few years ago, and an accident had just happened in front of me on this highway.
Howard Storm, that's what you did to me several times from 2002 to 2007. And you have showed utter contempt for me as a human being. And what, because I'm not a hunky athletic person filled with promise? Because there's nothing about me that is lovely? Because I'm just another human being, nameless face? But I digress. One time I wrote to you, and after I'd written to you several times, I was acting like I wanted to kill myself. How come you that I was not gonna kill myself? I had never had an intention to kill myself. Sometimes I used it because nobody would listen to me unless they think I'm gonna kill myself. How come Jesus never told you that? You know what? You know what you wrote back to me in the email? Check yourself in the hospital. You said everything's gonna be all right. Like seeing that child on the street. Oh, I hope that child gets some help. You did not say one thing. Hey, like Chris, if you commit suicide, you're definitely chances are you're not gonna go to heaven. Please don't kill you. It's not worth it to go to hell for killing yourself. No problem lasts forever. Why didn't you tell me something? Why did you tell me something kindly before you told me to check myself into the hospital? That's all you said. Check yourself into the hospital. Everything's going to be fine. You showed pure contempt for some nameless faceless guy on the internet. And here you are bitching about people doing the same thing. But what does it say in the book of Romans? Paul is castigating the Jews. You say you hate idolatry. Do you rob temples? You preach, thou shalt not commit adultery. Do you commit adultery? And break it. You who make your boast of the law and break the law dishonors God. So that's kind of like you, Howard Storm. Because of you, people like you and Dr. George C. Ritchie, Dr. George C. Ritchie to me was just like you. Two peas in the pod, as cold as the morgue slab when I tried to talk to them. Totally on the phone. Couldn't wait for me to end this conversation because I could hear the anxiety in your voice. You were ready to get me off the phone. And indeed, one time, well, I give Howard Storm. Is Jesus even real? Is your Jesus even real? I continue to believe in Jesus, but I've seen so much. I can't not stop believing in Jesus, but don't expect it to change my. I'm just gonna do enough to get by. I believe in Jesus. Do a few good deeds. Keep from denying Jesus. But I'm gonna try to be a rock star. I want to conquer. I want to be the teacher, not the student. I want to love, but when nobody really loves me except my family. So what? I gotta love myself because nobody else is loving me. Jesus doesn't answer my prayers. Not on the side though, Howard Storm. I truly hope you get your sight back. I know how it feels. I haven't lost my sight, but I've been devastated by loss like that. If I lost my eyesight, I could not stand to live. I would want to die, but I'd be too afraid to die. For what it's worth, House Storm, the doctor asked the doctor, look into a medical procedure known as adipose stem cells. They harvest your own fat tissue and create stem cells, and maybe they can inject them into your eyes and give you some of your vision back. I don't know, but I want to get stem cells for my stroke recovery. And for selfish reasons, I want to look young again. I want to get my hair back. Because I'd rather spend 1,000 years in purgatory before I go to heaven with a head full of hair than go straight to heaven looking like I do now, as ugly as I am now, as incomplete, as good looking as I am now. I wish Jesus cared about my good looks because it means so much to me. It's something that truly makes me happy, but I digress. But I got more to say, but stay tuned, I'll say more. Howard Storm, you're pointing the finger. But don't you see the 3 fingers pointing right back at you? Apathy. Making excuses. Well, I got something better to do. Howard Storm, you did the same damn thing to me. Back in 2002, 2004, 2003. Apathy. I called you on the telephone and you had absolutely no time to talk to me. I could hear it in your voice. The tone of your voice. You couldn't wait for me to get off the phone. Your voice was totally devoid of any emotion. Totally devoid of any love. You couldn't. Your voice sounded as if you couldn't have cared less. You didn't care. You didn't give a damn what I was saying. And you know how I know? I sent you a song that I wrote and asked you what you thought. Yeah, that's what you said. You said, yeah, I liked it. But you know how I know you didn't give a damn? Because in that song I mentioned World War III. And in your near-death experience you said Jesus told you there was never going to be a World War III. If you truly gave a damn about what I had to say, why in the hell did you not tell me that? Oh, you mentioned World War III. There's not going to be a World War III. Is it because you are apathetic towards me? Then one time I called you on the telephone. You said I can't talk. I got a wedding to go tonight. And then you use that as a lame ass excuse because I cussed. That's how convenient. If your Jesus is real, why did your Jesus not tell you my cussing was just a front? It was just a veneer. If your Jesus is real, if your Jesus is real Jesus, why in the hell did he not tell you this guy's not what he seems? He's not really so hateful. He's just hurting. Why? And I'm telling you this, if your Jesus is real and not a figment of your imagination, why is he not convicting you, Howard Storm, for you the way you treated me? Why? If Jesus is real, he'd convict you for what you did to me. But he's not. So I have to ask, is it all a crock of shit? And again, I say, if I look like this, screw you, God. If I look like this, I don't want to live if I look so ugly as I do now. Sometimes I hit myself when I see myself because I'm so ugly. So unsexy, but I digress. Yeah. Howard Storm. I want to do a podcast with you. I have some questions I want to ask you. After twisting your arm for about 5 years in 2007, or maybe it was 2006, I'm not sure, you finally begrudgingly said you were going to answer my questions. But you said because there's so many of them, and guess what? You didn't answer all my questions. You answered most of them, but not all of them. And I could tell, and you answered them as shortly as possible, using as few words as possible. Because you didn't have the time to waste with me. You simply didn't give a damn about me. For whatever reason. You're supposed to love your fellow human being, not because he's nice, not because he's got potential to be something big in this world, not because he's a cute little kid or a hunky young athlete, not because he's a filthy sinner, and if you can get this person to convert to Christianity, that would make you look good when you stand before God. What about the middle class sinners? Who gives a damn about saving them? Everyone wants to save the worst sinners, but what about the just average sinners? Who gives a damn about getting them saved? Because it doesn't add to their notches. It doesn't make Jesus look good and just an ordinary sinner get saved. When somebody, if you get rapper Eminem saved, that would make Jesus look really good. And you'd rather Eminem get saved than 1,000 normal sinners. That's the impression I get from you. Jesus said, "Return good for evil." I've given you a lot of evil, said a lot of bad things about you. But I expect if you're a true Christian, follow the commands of Jesus. Give to him that asketh thee. And from him that are borrowed thee, turn thou not away. Him that smiteth thee on the right cheek, turn to him the left cheek also. I'm begging you, can I have a podcast with you? I got some questions. I want to believe in you, Jesus, but I've seen some of the things that make me doubt, and I want to ask you. That's one thing you said one time. You said, I'm not qualified to answer all your questions. You need to get yourself a spiritual counselor, a pastor. What, Howard Storm? How dare you say that? You had an inside track to Jesus. You're expected to know a lot more than just some run-of-the-mill, nameless, faithless counselor who has lived by faith because he never got to see Jesus like you did. And the questions you ask Jesus. You got to ask Jesus every question you could think to ask. You know, one of the questions I would have asked? I would have asked Jesus, how does it feel to have never have had a beginning? My mind cannot possibly comprehend. What does it feel like to have always existed? Was that the first thing you thought? I'd have asked, what causes homosexuality? Do our pets go to heaven? I'm surprised, like hell, you didn't ask that. Now, how do I know? You said it in the video. Someone asked you, do our pets go to heaven? And you said, I don't know. Why the hell didn't you ask Jesus that question? I'm sure you filled me with rage. Yes, I believe in Jesus. But both you and Dr. George Ritchie have filled me with a rage and hatred for humanity. A rage. And because I'm not a putrid, filthy sinner, or maybe because I'm not a young, hunky, athletic guy, do you really love people because they're people, or are there subconscious cues? Maybe they look good. Maybe they're athletic. Maybe they're a housewife and they bring back, and the way their mannerisms are, bring back good memories to you. And you think you're loving them because you're loving another human being, but you're not. You're loving them because there's something about them that strikes you in a positive way. Christians are hypocrites anyways. But hey, don't feel bad. Even Jesus Christ called Herod a fox. I thought Jesus said not to. Yeah, Jesus Christ called Herod a fox. Not to his face either, but he said, "Go and tell that fox." And G. Campbell Morgan, a commentator, said the word for fox in the Greek was vixen, and it was a term of contempt. Because Herod killed John the Baptist. It seems to me that Jesus didn't want to save King Herod. Even Charles Spurgeon said Herod had probably crossed the deadline, sinned away his day of grace, and could not be saved even if he wanted to, because God had turned his back on him because he had sinned so badly. And when Jesus was being crucified, Herod was glad to see him and wanted to question Jesus of many things, but Jesus just didn't say a damn thing to him. Jesus didn't care about saving Herod, so you know what would really have impressed me with God's love? So what if he saves a harlot or a hooker? Big freaking deal. Big deal. You know what would have impressed me with the love of Jesus? If he would have saved Pontius Pilate. If Pontius Pilate would have gotten saved towards the end of his life because of the influence of Jesus. Let's see Jesus have some real grace. Not some just cardboard box, pizza, cookie cutter grace. Oh, Jesus loves you. You're a sinner, you disgusting sinner. Jesus loves you because you don't know what you're doing. But if you do know what you're doing, you've committed an unpardonable sin and God won't forgive you. What type of grace is this? This is cheap grace. This is not infinite grace. And another thing I want to discuss with you. God, I curse you if I don't look good. Another thing I want to discuss with you. I have a theory about what happens to those who go to hell and don't come back to God. And I got it from listening to you. How that Jesus will eventually save even the devil and his angels. I won't get into that. People are probably not going to even watch this video. Since I hit myself that time, I'm not looking as ugly as I did. I kind of don't want to live if I can't get my hair transplant. I don't give a damn. This is what I want out of man, for my free will, out of man, my forehead of hair from Jesus, and let the consequences come. Just don't let me have this. Just don't let me have this lack of hair that makes my scalp shine through my front bangs.
Love me, but instead you stood above, you spit me out, you kick me down. I hate your now.